161st Street, Yankee Stadium.
Swung on and hit in the air. The deep center. Gets back, away back. She is gone.
All right, welcome back to the Boys of 161st Street, episode 217. Today is July 25th, and this episode is presented by Underdog Fantasy. We have a lot to get into because we missed the episode last week. That was our fault. Had a lot going on, a little bit of moving, but we're here. A lot of stuff to talk about today's episode. We are recapping the Orioles series as well as a little bit touching on the Astros series, which we would like to forget. Yeah, before we get into all of it, how you doing, fellas? I can't say fellas.
Pretty
Hot.
good. Physically hot.
So it's a hot day here, and as a resident of New York City, it's very hot.
Yeah, it's not fun. Then there's just like these random thunderstorms that happen during the day, and I feel like I'm gonna die. So
That was
it's always fun.
wild.
That picture was cool. I thought that was Photoshopped.
Picture was sick.
If those of you who live in the city or just like cool pictures aren't aware, go look at that picture. It looks Photoshopped. It looks like something from a spooky like sci-fi thing.
Yeah, lightning struck the Empire State Building. Like, and it's crazy too when that happens because it's happened a couple times recently, and then you like every one of us texting the group chat like, did we just get attacked by like aliens or something? And
Well, because it's always at like 5 a.m. and then I get text from Luke like, "Hey, what time are we recording?" And like Luke notoriously wakes up late, like, "Oh yeah, thunder got you too." Like, "Yep."
No, and it's crazy too because then I see like a TikTok of it. It's like it's just like emergency alarms going off and car alarms going off. It's like when you live in New York City and you wake up to this, and I was like, wow, every single person heard it, and everybody did. It's just crazy.
I think it's funny how like,
nuclear threat warnings lately, so
yeah,
you never know.
It too. Always stay on your toes, Mother Nature.
keep keeping us on our toes.
All right, so we do have a lot to get into. I figure we might as well start off with the bad news. There's a lot of rumors in the rumor mill that have been floating around as of recently about Soto, Benintendi, some of the prospects in the Yankees, even Ohtani. So we'll get into all of that in a second. But before we do that, I figure it's a good thing to address the sad is that Mike King is hurt. So Chandler, you want to start there because Mike King is like probably your favorite player.
I do love Mike King,
Read
and
the
last episode we did the bullpen trust tree, and I actually had him at 1 ahead of Clay Holmes, and before that he was actually use reliever WAR however you want, or WAR in general however you want, but he was, for what it's worth, ahead of Clay Holmes by a shade in WAR. He was a good mop up guy. He came in. Everybody remembers the game against the Blue Jays where he came in and bases loaded, nobody out, gets out of it. I think I would argue. And I'm curious to see what you guys think about this, but I would argue that losing Michael King, outside of the obvious of Garrett Cole, because he's our only true ace, and maybe Aaron Judge, that he's probably the most detrimental loss to this team.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
it's really sad. It's
really sad.
What was
dude.
the exact,
I saw him grab his
injury?
elbow, and my heart just sank.
What was the exact injury?
He fractured his elbow.
And is he
with Tommy John also a possibility?
He's confirmed out for the year.
Confirmed out for the year, and if he has Tommy John out for next year too.
That'd be terrible. Oh my god.
That's just sad on a Yankee front. Well, not even a Yankee front, but on a personal front too. Like he was having an absolutely lights out breakout year, more
career year, yeah.
Like way big breakout. Like he was never even remotely close to this. He was obviously young, but this is a true breakout, and he was really doing it like every single night. I don't remember that many like appearances where he looked like he didn't really have it. There's obviously a few because he's human, but I don't know. It just really
there was
sad.
Like a 3-game stretch where he kind of struggled, but even, I mean, compared to the other guys, and I think this is definitely a time to bring it up when you look at Aroldis Chapman, he shouldn't even be in that situation. Obviously, if your shoulder or elbow snaps in half while you throw a pitch, there's something wrong. That's not just it's a freak accident, but it's probably bound to happen anyway. But he should not have even been in that game. It was a 7-3 game, and Aroldis Chapman comes in, is throwing wild pitches, he's walking people, gives up a bomb because everybody can just sit on his fucking slider because everybody knows he can't throw a fastball within 10 feet of the zone. So I don't know. That's my biggest bone to pick with it is not. I mean, yes, it's tragic. I'm very upset because I love Michael King, and I think, as I've said multiple times, I think he's the biggest piece of that bullpen. But it affects so much more, and so many more dominoes fall. I mean, Aroldis Chapman's now 1 inning closer to pitching in meaningless innings. You lose one more person in that ladder. Now he's
Meaningful
bumped up,
innings,
and he might get some more high leverage spots now. I still don't think he will. I think guys like Albert Abreu are going to get more. Wandy Peralta are going to get more, but Chapman's name is one step closer now. And again, Chapman can't do what he did the other night. Obviously, again, he's not to blame. It's a freak accident. It happens, but there's no reason that he should be in that spot in the first place. Michael King should have been resting and coming in the next game. And you see the snowball effects of that because then you have Garrett Cole coming out in the 7th inning with 105, 103 pitches, whatever it is. If you have a bullpen that doesn't have to go and clean up Chapman's fucking mess every night, then Garrett Cole doesn't have to do that, and maybe that outcome's different. I know it's one game against the Orioles. It is what it is, but that stuff catches up to you when you have to push the guy an extra inning when maybe he doesn't necessarily have that extra oomph. Like Cole he was good. He was damn good. I know the stat sheet says he gave up 3 or 4 runs, whatever, but he was good, but he wasn't, I need to go back out there on 103 pitches. He wasn't complete game shutout against the Astros good, but you have to do that because who do you go to there? The bullpen's spent and your best reliever's done. So there's not really a whole lot you can do.
Quick thing on the King injury. I don't want to read too much into this, but this was the first time all season that he threw a good amount of pitches back to back. You know, he hasn't really thrown back to back games this entire season.
Is that true?
And I'm looking at it right now. It's true.
Just want to make sure you have the facts.
I
believe that
he did it one time in June, but he threw 12 pitches before that, but the day before, and he threw 20 pitches the game before he got injured.
I feel like that's a lot of the reason because whenever he had been going, at least in the beginning of the year, he was going for like 2 innings at a time.
Yeah. Which is I mean, he's got 33 pitches in some outings, 2 innings pitch. So yeah, most of it is one inning pitch, but it's something to be curious.
Why we should be scared because he's used in large quantities at a time at 33 pitches. Like that's pitches you got to find.
Oh yeah.
Those are pitches
one thing to know.
Not only you have to find those pitches, you have to find somebody to be as effective as him in those spots too, and you can't just pull 33 pitches out of your ass for a reliever. I mean, you look at the stats right now. Out of the entire pitching staff, in terms of WAR, he's third in the WAR leaders on the Yankees, behind Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, and above the rest of the starters, and that's above Clay Holmes. Where it's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, and
I think one thing to notice,
you pair that with the Severino injury. Now, like we'll get into the trade stuff later, but this changes the entire paradigm of what the Yankees should target in the trade deadline.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Clark Schmidt is a huge thing going forward. That's one thing that needs to be addressed while we're on this and hitting as hard as we are, because he kind of fits that same mold as Mike King. As somebody who is a French starter, being up and down, he's got the stuff and it plays up in the bullpen. I think Clark Schmidt, I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying he's going to be as effective as Mike King. Certainly, I think he could. I don't think it's a stretch to think that Clark Schmidt could come in and be pretty close to what Michael King was. He needs to do it. He's never done it, so it's a huge question mark, and you don't want a question mark coming down the stretch of a historic season going into October, but I mean, he's no more of a question mark than Michael King was coming into this season. Michael King's never thrown those innings in October. He's never thrown that workload. It's something I've talked about for months now, as I'm interested to see how these relievers do come August, September, because they've never thrown this volume. And I think Clark Schmidt he's how this whole thing goes now. There's more pressure on him than I think people realize, because he has to fill that role. He fit it to a T, and he has to fill it at least serviceable. He can't come in and be a mop up, come in and, you're losing by 4. You bring in Clark Schmidt. He's going to see some high leverage spots, and he has to, like I said, he has to be at least somewhat of what Michael King was if this team's going to go far, unless they trade for somebody huge. But even then, I still think you need to get meaningful innings out of Clark Schmidt.
I'd rather see him over Domingo Germán ever again.
Oh,
His
well,
outing
that's
was
no fucking brainer.
God awful.
I mean,
oh my
Domingo
gosh.
Germán went 3 innings. How many runs did he give up?
5.
He just looked
Maybe
terrible.
6.
And we were
Too
watching
many.
the game too. We were streaming it, and Damon, I think at the time, was like, this is when he gave up like 2 runs. You're like, Damon's like, he's good for like 6 more. And we all were like laughing it off. Like, I hope that's not the case, because he did show signs of life last year, and he's got talent for sure. But like, and maybe he'll shake off the rust. But that was a bad intro for sure. And I think it's less of the Domingo Germán slander that I would make that statement about Clark Schmidt. It's more of the trusting Clark Schmidt, because Clark Schmidt was doing awesome before he got sent down before, and we were all pissed about it, but we kind of understood, because at the time the rest of the starters were dealing, and so was the bullpen. Every single pitcher had a place, and he just had options. He was the one that he was the odd man out. But now when, Mike King goes down, Luis Severino goes down, there's no reason why Clark Schmidt shouldn't be up on this
Velasquez
roster
not
and have an
being effective right now.
Yeah.
These all play into it. And sorry to interrupt you, but I did before you wrapped up, I wanted to at least throw that in there too, because you have a guy that was supposed to be your bona fide setup man coming into this season, and he is just shitting a brick. And I know last episode a week ago, which isn't a whole lot of time, but we were still talking about how we're still confident in Loaizaga, and I am to a degree. If he doesn't shape up soon, that's just another question mark that you can't pick up. You need Clark Schmidt this season. If they send it back down, I think that'd be a huge mistake. And the Domingo Germán baffles me. When you have Clark Schmidt sitting there, you got JP Sears, who's been fucking awesome this year when he's been up.
Yep.
I get it. Do not get it. You have, like I said, Clark Schmidt, JP Sears, and there was one other person that I was thinking of. But either way, there's no reason that he should be getting that start against Max Scherzer on national television.
Yeah, and before we get into the rest of the rumor mill, one thing on Loaizaga, because you mentioned it, is since he's been back, he's had 4 games, 3.2 innings pitched, 7 hits allowed, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 2 strikeouts. He's not...
Game.
What?
All 4 runs are in one game.
Exactly, but he's not striking out a lot of people. He has quite literally the lowest K per 9 out of the entire bullpen as of the last 30 days. It's just like, I don't know. What's your? I want to get a temperature check on the Loaizaga. Do you still think, I know we were kind of mentioning it before, that we still had the confidence that he's going to come back and be that dominant Loaizaga that we saw in 2021, but where do we stand on that right now? Percentage out of 100, what's your confidence that he comes back to be, like, come playoff time, that he's dominant Loaizaga, based on what we've seen in the last 30 days?
Damon?
I think I was adamant about not being confident in him when he first came back. I have seen still nothing from him that makes me feel like he will be dominant come the postseason. I know there's been some unlucky situations. He's been put in the game, and he's getting a dinky fly ball. He gets a hard hit ground ball through the gap, but those are still hits. Those are still missing spots to some capacity. And again, I really have not seen anything that is screaming at me saying can't wait for Loaizaga to pitch in the playoffs, because I'm confident he's going to get us through the inning. I really haven't seen anything from him quite yet. So I'm really not confident. I'm going to say, like, I'm going to put it at a 50-50, just because I know we all know what he's capable of, and that doesn't go away. I feel like he's just missing a few different things, like location, and just trying to get back to his old self. So I think it's still there, but again, I just haven't seen anything that really makes me confident in that, but I know what he can do. So it's a thin line between 50-50, and I want him to prove me wrong and want him to kind of get back on it.
I was going to say 50-50 or 60-40. So I agree with you. I'm not as confident as I was a week ago. I thought maybe coming off this shoulder injury, and maybe they rushed him back because of the need in the bullpen. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm making excuses for him because I like him, but I'm not as confident as I was a week ago. But it would not shock me one bit. I think that he's a guy that could kind of fly under the radar, especially now. I think if we sit here maybe a month from now and look back and we're like, whoa, look who's been sneaky good. Loaiza could be a candidate for that. That somebody just pops up and like, okay, he's actually putting together a pretty solid back half of the season. I wouldn't bet on it, but it wouldn't shock me one bit.
Would you bet on it on Underdog?
I would bet on it on Underdog. Yes.
And would you talk about that bet in the chalkboard group chat?
I would. Yeah.
Link in bio to download and join.
And then I would go support him in person with my tick pick.
Yeah, that's true. there are no fees in those tickets. Code 161. Is that the code?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
there you go.
Fee-free tickets. Go ahead. No, but honestly, the fee-free tickets really come into play here when you have the Yankees Mets first Subway Series coming to town. I want to go so bad, but the tickets are pretty expensive. The only way I would be able to go is through TickPick, because the fees on those tickets would probably be like $30-$40, and Daddy just can't swing it nowadays. So TickPick, code 161. Go to the Subway Series and let me know how it goes, because I'm poor and I can't afford it.
Hey, if you go to Subway Series and they're $100 for a ticket and you use code 161, you get $10 off.
That's true. I forgot
Now
about
they're only
that.
90.
That was like the whole point of the ad read.
Way to crush.
Cool.
Before we move on, I have a motion to put Aroldis Chapman on the Sun, and I would like to make this like a life without parole situation. I don't see any way he can come off. I'm tired of it. He's been teetering back and forth for a long time now. He got put on earlier, and it was a timeout as a big controversy. It was, the Sun Gate earlier in the season of whether or not it was warranted. I think now it's time to have that discussion. I have lost all faith in Chapman. I don't think he can be an effective reliever on this team again. Since the sticky substance ban in June of last year, per Yankees source on Twitter, he's pretty good at putting up little stats like this. He's thrown 49.1 innings to an ERA over 5, a FIP at 5.5. He's walking almost 8 people per 9, and his home run to fly ball ratio is 19%. So, his metrics are bad. His performance is bad. I'm tired of seeing him fucking smiling on the bench after he just blows game after game. He didn't, he record 1 out the other night and 3 wild pitches? You should never have more wild pitches than outs. I mean, that's shades of Brooks Kriske, and he got put on the Sun and has never been removed for doing the same thing. So I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. It was kind of sprung on you here, but I'm fucking over it. I think this was the last straw for me. For good. I'm not taking him off again.
I don't know about. I don't think what you can do for good, because if he comes out and becomes like a Cy Young pitcher just randomly out of a miracle, there's no for good ever. So I'll stop you there, but I will say this, and you mentioned the home run to fly ball ratio is even worse in the last 30 days. It's 25%. He's just not really looking great, to say the least. He's got 7.71 FIP in the last 30 days. He looks like shit. Yeah, I'll put him on the side. I mean, the one thing here is Murph's not on this episode today, and he just responded in the group chat. He said yes. So Murph cast his vote. So Damon, you're the deciding factor to send Chapman to the Sun.
3 of 3.
I have a question.
Okay.
When was
I cannot believe that you have to think this hard on it, but I will happily.
I'm not. Listen. I'm not doing this because I think Aroldis Chapman is good. I'm doing this in respect of the Sun, so we don't abuse its powers. When do we take Aroldis Chapman off of the Sun, and when do we put him back on? What do we? Anybody know that?
Oh, this would be a second trip to the Sun, huh?
I know.
Yeah, but this would be like a 1 week span. And he was still he was put on pretty much early. He was put on after game 12 of the season. It was
and then he got hurt.
We put him back, and then he got hurt after that. And I mean, it's been a solid 2 months since he was on the Sun, and I don't even think I think it would be disrespectful not to put him on the Sun. If he's not a Sun candidate, then who is?
Right. So I do forget that
now, Damon, on the season now, his stats are.
I have in front of me. I got it.
They're atrocious.
5.75 5.75 ERA. I got it. I agree. Yeah, because he was
one stat strikes me insane. He has a 7.58 walk per 9.
That's atrocious.
The next
I mean, wild
closest,
pitches.
the next closest person to that on the Yankees. Everybody else, keep in mind, if for reference, Mike King 2.74, Clay Holmes 1.96, Wandy Peralta 2.52. I'll go to the worst off people. Ron Marinaccio 4.66. David McKay a 9. He has 2 innings pitched on the season. That does wipe that away. But for reference, he's next to David McKay. He's the second worst at that. He just walks every single person ever.
Yeah,
mean,
no,
wild pitches.
clearly he sucks. There's no way around that. I forgot that we first put him on there as a timeout. So I think this will be his official welcome to the Sun.
Thank you.
As a real candidate, not in timeout, and he needs to do quite a bit to get off of it, in my opinion.
I mean, Murph is the person that was upset that we sent him the first time, and I asked him in the group chat since he's not here and he had to cast the vote. I said, Murph, do you agree with Chapman to the Sun? Just immediate. Literally within the minute, I just swiped left to see what the timestamps are. Said just yes. No questions asked. Like not a. And Murph is a big it depends guy. There was no depends. Like what has he done for me lately? And like no, he's on the Sun.
Yep.
So that'll do it. Here comes the Sun. Welcome back, Aroldis Chapman. This might be the nail in the coffin for you. So
I also think you have to factor in Michael King's injury into that, which fair or not, Michael King should have never been in that game. Aroldis Chapman also should go to jail for assault.
So we should blame Aroldis Chapman for Michael King's injury.
That's the headline.
yeah.
That changed the title of the episode to
The New York
Aroldis
Porch
Chapman
Sport
injures Michael
article.
King.
Yeah.
That would totally be a New York Porch Sport headline. It's like breaking. Aroldis Chapman is to blame for Aroldis Chapman facing involuntary manslaughter for Michael King's
Michael King
fractured elbow or whatever it is.
Michael King quote. Michael King blames Aroldis Chapman for his injury.
Yeah, and it'd be like amid Chapman's like misdemeanor charges and as his trial looms, like Michael King is noted saying that Aroldis Chapman's the sole person to blame.
He is.
Either
All
way,
right,
fuck you, Chapman, you're gone.
Back on the Michael King thing, not to jump around a bunch, but what do you think, before we get into our smoke or fire segment, what do you think the Mike King injury, if at all, alters the plans at the trade deadline? Because, I mean, I guess I'll start, because I think, and you know what? Why don't we just start rounding third, because this is my rounding third. It's all interconnected. So
before we get into rounding third, I'll let you know that rounding third is brought to you by Tick Pick. For those of you who don't know how rounding third works, basically you throw out a take, and it is called Safe or Out. You are never out when you use Tick Pick. You know, there you go. You like that? No fees on your tickets. As we said earlier, use code 161 to get $10 off. This upcoming series against the Royals, not a single ticket over $21. Well, as far as the cheapest ones go, obviously you can pay more for that, but the cheapest tickets all around $21. Go on places like StubHub, stuff like that. You're going to be paying that just in fees. So go ahead on your rounding third, Luke.
So I was just saying, with the Mike King injury, the question looms, what does this mean for the team? Obviously, we have Mike King-sized shoes to fill. We just mentioned his entire season-long stats and what he's been doing recently. Big shoes to fill, a lot of usage to fill. I think, and I was a big proponent of going after Soto, and there's more and more rumors nowadays that he is going to be moved. There's just a million different reasons why they should, but now it's actually looking like they really will. The Yankees did check in on him, but at the end of the day, after this Mike King injury and combine that with the Luis Severino injury, I'm starting to see the board more closely to what Chandler was saying before this. So I'm saying now, because of this, out of necessity, yeah, would I like to have Juan Soto on the team? Absolutely, but there's a lot more holes, and when other people potentially regress back to the mean, or if not the mean, but regress, because it could happen, or other people get hurt, we really need to re-bolster this bullpen and rotation. And I think if we go for Juan Soto, that's gonna be it, and that's obvious. It's not what I think. It's gonna be the biggest trade in the history of baseball. So, with that being said, with the Mike King injury, I think that's the nail in the coffin for Juan Soto for us, and I think we're gonna go all in on Luis Castillo and David Bednar, and then another depth piece in the outfield. But I think that's shifted the focus 100% to the point where it's now only pitching. And I think if I'm being honest, that's what I would do now. And if I'm also being honest, I'd be upset if we got Soto, with that being said.
I would not be upset with Soto. There's no way to be upset with Soto.
No,
I do
but you know
think
what I
it's
meant.
fine.
I actually
do know-
wouldn't. I wouldn't be really upset, but there are a lot of cons to signing Soto because of the fact that we now have Mike King and Luis Severino size holes, and only I feel like David Bednar and Luis Castillo can fill those.
I'll tell you what, there's one guy that I'm absolutely loving right now, and that is Gregory Soto from the Tigers. That's a guy that I think should be on a radar, and obviously he's on every contending team's radar. He's one of the best relievers in the game, represent them in the All-Star game, and he's got cool hair.
And he closes games too.
He's very good.
Yeah.
But like, all jokes aside, he's very, very good. I think that's a guy that could slot into the eighth inning seamlessly, and he would be excellent on this team. He'd be a huge get. He would cost a lot, obviously, but I think he is a necessity. I think you need to add a bullpen arm, but I'll let Damon go, and then I will touch on my rounding third presented by TickPick, that because mine is also bullpen related.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Rella there. As nice as a pickup as Juan Soto would be as a for generational player right now, I don't know. It obviously is huge. I mean, there's no way to hype up Juan Soto more. I mean, he's probably going to be one of the best players ever played baseball. And he would be a huge asset to the team, no question about it. But with the recent Mike King injury, with Severino, with just the bullpen, even the starting pitching kind of being a little off lately, there's a lot bigger holes to fill than an outfielder right now. And pitching, we said this before, I've said this before, pitching should be the main focus point of this trade deadline. And if we can somehow get some pitchers and also another bat that's not Juan Soto, then I'm so fine with that. But it's got to be something. And I think that we have to get some pitching help, because there's right now where we are struggling to kind of fill bullpen slots and get people who are confident in. And shit can happen. People can get hurt again. And if another person gets hurt in the bullpen, another big piece, we're really fucked. And we can't just wait for that to happen, because we can't just play this game and then hope that no one else gets injured by the playoff time. So we need pitching. There's no question about that. And if that means we're not getting Juan Soto, then I'm totally fine with that, as crazy as that sounds.
No, I think we can all agree Juan Soto, yes. It's an immediate yes. If you saw the Yankees got Juan Soto, we would all have the same exact reaction. It'd be like borderline tears. But as far as, and this is what I was trying to get at last episode, it's not that I don't want Juan Soto. It's not that I don't think he's worth the asking price. I think he's worth that and then some. I just think for this current World Series run that this team has a legitimate shot at, pitching is more of a necessity. And that I don't even think that the Michael King injury goes into that, but even before that, pitching was a huge question mark, and it all boils down to the innings pitched by these guys. The people are getting banged up. Severino hasn't thrown in 2 years. We all knew this was coming, even if it's not a serious injury. He was going to need rest. He was going to need something, because he hasn't thrown in so long. You can't miss 2 years and go throw 200 plus innings as a power pitcher. That just doesn't work. That's not how the body works. Something was bound to happen. And the same thing with these relievers. I mean, Michael King's a hard throwing.
Give.
I mean, it does. But that my rounding third is that I think Ron Marinaccio is going to end up being a massive, massive person in this bullpen down in October. I think that you're going to see Ron Marinaccio throwing some very high leverage innings come the postseason.
I'm about to look him up on. I know who he is, obviously, but I'm just saying I was about to look him up on Baseball Savant, but I'm quite sure he doesn't even have the sample size to show the Sabres.
I think. I mean, I gave you. He made the hot list a couple weeks ago, right? I know. On the IL, because he hadn't given up a run since he got called back up. I don't even know if he gave up one hit since he got called back up. He was striking out people. Yeah, the walks are a concern, but I think if he can, that comes with experience at that level. I think if he can trim those, there's no reason to think he can't be a high leverage arm.
I mean, he's been great this year. He's on the season 2.33 ERA, 17 games, 19.1 innings pitched. And he's been honestly in semi-leverage situations. It feels like I haven't looked at the leverage index, but it does seem like he comes in and not just mop-up roles. So the one thing I'd be concerned about is obviously the experience. He's 27, so he's got the age, but like he hasn't been in stuff in big ticket spots like that. And honestly, I'm gonna call you out because I hope that's not the case.
I wouldn't be upset by it though. That's the thing. I
hope that he doesn't have to. I hope getting a Bednar or getting a Gregory Soto will deter that from happening. I hope he gets run, but I don't hope he goes in leverage spots. I hope he's our guy that, you know, when we're up like 3 or 4 or 5 runs, he gets some run to keep it close, and that's that.
I just don't know that Luis Castillo, I believe, is going to be a Yankee, and I think that's going to cost a substantial package. I don't know that you're going to get a elite reliever. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a elite. You're not going to get Gregory Soto if you get Castillo. I don't think, because I think they're going to get an outfielder. Maybe it's not Juan Soto, maybe it's not even Benintendi or Happ, but I think they're going to get another outfielder, and I think they're going to get Luis Castillo. If I had to bet on a trade deadline, that would be my bet. I don't know that there's enough left over that they're willing to give up with the stash of arms they have. Because you have Abreu who's performing lights out, because you have Ron Marinaccio who's performing well, because you have Clark Schmidt sitting there waiting in the wings that can come up and he can do it, and we've seen it. I don't know that they're going to spin big. It wouldn't surprise me if they went out and got somebody like a Michael Fulmer, who is a question mark but performing well this year, and I believe he's in a contract year. Something like that would make a lot of sense to me, and I think if that's the case, you still have Ron Marinaccio getting a chance and a look at these late innings. I think coming down the stretch, you're going to see it a lot, and if he performs well, I believe you'll see him in the postseason in those spots, and he's going to have to with the injuries. And if you go out and get a Castillo, Ramon Laureano, I know that's a big name that Murph loves. You go out and get some of these guys that you're going to have to give up a lot of pieces for. I don't know that they're going to spend big on a reliever. I think they're going to go for more of a depth reliever he can get you some outs.
D-Rob
David Robinson, dude.
I think we're in a world where it's extremely likely that we get D-Rob back.
That would be a great pickup.
I wouldn't say extremely likely.
That'd be a perfect pickup right now.
So many people are going to go after him.
Yeah, because he's a low cost Grizzly vet reliever who's been there, done that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think it'd be fun. Why don't we continue the smoker fire? Because we talked about Mike
Damon's
King.
got a rounding third.
Oh, you didn't get your rounding third yet?
No.
Go ahead.
So this one kind of depends on who we get if we get a pitcher in the trade deadline, specifically a starting pitcher. But this really has to do with JMO. I'm becoming more and more worried about JMO and his performance. Looking at his last what was it? Sorry, I had the stat right in front of me.
Really selling me.
His last 9 starts. He's a 6.09 ERA. Last game against the Orioles, he didn't even make it through 3 innings. Let up 2 runs on 4 hits, 3 walks. He had 1 good game against the Red Sox before that, but other than that, he's kind of been very, very inconsistent. Has shown really nothing really encouraging. And I'm getting a little bit worried and not very confident in putting him in a playoff situation. So if we do get a starting pitcher come the trade deadline and we're in a series, I don't know what the rotation would really look like, but I would put him on the back half of the rotation, like a 4 or 5 starter towards come playoff times. I'm really not confident in anything he's been putting out there recently.
You talk about Taillon?
Yeah.
I think if the playoffs started, even when he was in his dominant run, I don't know that he was at that time. I don't know that he's a playoff starter. I agree with you.
I don't know about
I agree
that.
with you 100%. But
Like,
I think the playoff starter, as it sits right now, even if you don't acquire a starter, I think it's going to go. Assuming Sevy's back, it's going to go Cole, Sevy, Nestor, and then you're going to piece it together from there. And
yeah, I
then
mean,
Montgomery would go
we
fourth.
were talking about we kept talking about putting Nestor in the bullpen, which don't get me wrong, like Nestor's obviously like a better bullpen person than JMO. Like, there's no doubt about that. But in terms of who I'd rather have starting the game, Nestor 100%
Oh yeah.
than JMO. Like, at least Nestor came back and he had a great game, but JMO has just been all over the place. He has not found command whatsoever. He can't get outs. He's
What about his control?
his control can be stronger than his control. No, but he's been brutal to watch. And again, aside from that one good game against the Red Sox, 6-inning pitch, 2 hits, and 1 run. Besides that, in his last 9 games, they've all been pretty terrible. And yeah,
that's
I'm not.
definitely a reason for concern.
It's a reason for concern, and it's just another reason why we need a starting pitcher for the trade during trade deadline. But I'm telling you, I am not feeling great about putting him in a playoff start right at the moment.
No, I don't think he will be. All right, let's move on to Smoke or Fire. So a lot of updates in the rumor mill. Juan Soto, Yankees obviously have expressed interest. That just to me is Cashman kicking the tires. I don't necessarily think that means anything. So I'm going to call that Smoke. Fire, smoke, just for reference. Smoke means it's just nothing. Fire means this is actually something. So Juan Soto to the Yankees, I think is smoke. But I think there's going to be more to this. I think they're going to do their due diligence. But I don't know. I don't think it's likely anymore.
The thing that I think Chandler, you sent this in the group, but the MLB pulled 17 front office executives about where they think Soto would land. I thought that was really interesting. They had Padres. So out of the 17, 8 of them thought the Padres, 7 thought the Dodgers, 3 thought the Cardinals, a bunch of other 3s, and 3 thought the Yankees. So I agree with you. And if the Dodgers got Soto, I'm going to give up on baseball.
It's just annoying because it feels like they just get it every time. They get everybody all the time.
This will cost them, though. This is going to cost them a Dustin May. This is going to cost them something big.
You think they give a shit though?
They're going to win, so who gives a fuck? That's the exact mindset. We were saying the same thing.
This one's different than other trades because they're going to give up major league talent, and I still think it's stupid as fuck. And if they get Juan Soto, I'm going to be sad. But
think about this though. Out of the recent big names that ever hit the market, Mookie Betts, they got him. Max Scherzer, they got him. Who else? Freddie Freeman,
Turner.
They got him. Trey Turner, they got him. Didn't even know he was available, but they got him. Like that wasn't even one that was even thought to be available. They just checked in. It was like, hey, they probably just hit up the Nationals. Like, hey, what do you think about? We want Scherzer, but like, what do you think about throwing in Trey Turner? We'll give you way more than you could even imagine. Like that's probably how that went. I feel like I'm missing one too.
I don't know how they do it. Dude.
Yeah, but listen, the Dodgers trade away their top 2 prospects, literally number 1, number 2.
Yeah,
So
but they still
gave it away.
They still have a good farm system, and they have all the money in the world. It's wild. I don't know how
what the Yankees used to be.
Look, so do we. We have a great farm system and all the money in the world too.
They have a manager with balls, I guess. But
yeah, that's the only difference right there.
I'm not going to say. I mean, I think it's definitely smoke. I don't think anybody can confidently say fire to a Juan Soto rumor, but I feel better than I thought I would about it. I'll say that.
You were very against it.
I'm not against it.
Not against it. You very much said like there's a negative 1% chance that he will be.
I still don't think it's high, but I think it's the best I've felt about it so far, which isn't saying much. I would say like maybe a 5% chance, maybe a 10.
That's a lot from -1.
But it's not going to happen. I'm not getting my hopes up, but I don't think it's completely dead. I think that the Yankees, I'm going to kick myself in the ass for saying this, but I think this is the first time in a while they're being serious at the deadline. I think that they have to get something significant. You can't go and act like you're the smartest person in the room and go get some under the radar name who's got good peripherals. You can't do that this year. I think Brian Cashman knows that. I hope he knows that, But
while getting your doors blown off by the team that is you're going to face in the LCS if you make it there.
as it
We
sits
haven't
right
even,
now,
we haven't
yeah,
even addressed that yet because we didn't do the episode last week where we just finished that series and we just beat up on the Orioles a little bit, and that was fun to get the confidence back. But if we're talking about before, you know, how much better we were than all the other teams in the AL. You look at the other teams and you start gearing up against the Mets and gearing up against the Dodgers and trying to compare against them. You won't even make it there if you don't get better now, because the Astros are better than us by a lot right now, and I'm very scared to face them when inevitably we do face them, because and they're just going to eliminate us again. Like as it sits right now, if we don't retool and get some extra assets right now, they're going to beat us. And
Yeah,
I don't think anybody watching these
embarrassed.
games. Yeah, I don't think anybody watching these games can confidently say they feel good going against the Astros.
No, we were embarrassed by them. I would like
They have our
that
number.
should have been a awakening point for
hats off
everybody.
to Aaron Boone though for actually
I
giving
love
an
that
answer.
answer.
That was the only time in his tenure here that he's given an answer to the media. I was like, okay, fuck yeah, this guy gets it
What
now.
was his answer? I don't think I saw
I'll
that.
play it.
Yeah, play it real quick.
For those that don't know, I think this is one of the best quotes that I've heard from Boone in a while. Let me find it. One moment. Bad radio. There we go.
Yeah, the 2 wins you had are walk-off wins. They've been in control of most of these games. How do you get past that part and change the narrative here?
But the narrative's not going to change, Dan, until you beat them in the playoffs if that day comes. I mean, we beat them 4 out of 6 last year, and they didn't hold leads. Where'd that get us? I understand it's a big story. I understand the season we're in. It's not going to matter unless October. So we're gonna, if we happen to come back here in October, we're going to show up. We're going to expect to win. We think we're really good. They're really good. Don't overstate this.
Just thought that was a very, very bold but respectful, ballsy way to respond to that, and I think I just tipped the cap to Boone on that, because that's what he can read the writing on the wall. It's like they are better than us right now. They have beat us. We've beat them in the regular season. It did not matter in the postseason because they have our number. So I don't know.
I mean, dude, that was the first time I've ever heard I've actually believed Boone in a press conference. Like that's kind of crazy to say, but maybe that was the first time. But like usually it's all bullshit, and it's usually whatever he thinks the media wants to hear is what he typically says. But hearing that, I'm like, damn, like he actually cares about that. He actually put some thought into that and actually means it.
No, that's hit the nail on the head. I'm used to him just being like, yeah, I like what I saw from Judgy and from Coley out there. They tried hard, and you're like, yeah, no, nobody wants to hear that they tried hard. They just got the fucking break speed off of them by the person that's eliminated them. I think I saw something the other day. It was either the Red Sox or the Astros have eliminated the Yankees like 5 out of the last 6 postseasons or something. So It's nice to see him just be like, you know what? We'll see you in fucking October, and that's the real thing. So hats off to him.
All right, let's continue down Smoker Fire. Let's revisit the Judge MVP statuses. I did see a fun graphic that showed the WAR leaders, and Judge is actually ahead of Ohtani in the WAR leaderboard. And I thought a lot of people think it's a preconceived notion that he is going to just run away with the MVP again, but it's interesting. It's honestly, there's 2 things that were crazy on that WAR list. DJ was what number, Chandler?
I don't know. I think he's like 5 or 6.
WAR leader for the season so far?
I have it right here. Sorry, bad radio.
I think he's top 10 in baseball and top 5.
So WAR leaders in the American League this year: Judge at 5.1, Shohei Ohtani at 4.7, Yordan Alvarez 4.4, Devers 4.3, and DJ 3.9. So DJ, what do you think is crazier out of that? That Judge is ahead of Ohtani, who pitches and hits, and he's doing both very well this year, or that DJ is right behind Devers in the American League? quietly.
I would say DJ because I
DJ.
think it's quiet. I think nobody is giving him the credit that he deserves for this, which is, I mean, that's right on par and right on brand for DJ LeMahieu. He's the most I would say he's one of the most underrated players in baseball, if not the most underrated. It's not super pretty. He's not a flashy guy, as we all know, but he's out there doing it again. I think you can confidently say that DJ LeMahieu's back, and I don't know. I would say he's just as good as he's ever been on the Yankees, and I think that his contract right now, people were saying that it was not, they gave him too much. They gave him too many years. Why would you give an aging DJ LeMahieu this much? I think his contract is almost a bargain at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I am very shocked DJ's that high, to be quite honest. But I am definitely more shocked about DJ because, I mean, Judge is having a career year right now. So even though Ohtani does pitch and hit, and even though Ohtani does pitch and hit and is doing both very, very well, I'm very surprised about DJ because, again, it has been a quiet, very, very good season.
So he had a bad start. He's almost up to 290 now.
Which is insane.
Let's revisit the Judge MVP campaign. Do you think? Because I know we talked about it on the show, and it was sad to say, but we were like, Ohtani's probably still going to win it, even if Judge hits 61 home runs or 62 home runs. Do you think that's still the case?
Judge will not win an MVP if Ohtani keeps this up. Ohtani, I was listening.
But his WAR's higher though. And he only hits. It does matter. It absolutely does matter.
No, it doesn't. WAR you can tell doesn't matter, and the stats don't matter. Look at his rookie of the year against Miguel Andujar. He won it the minute he was posted, and that was bullshit because he was hurt half the year. But the dude's pitching to a borderline Cy Young caliber, and he's hitting at an MVP level. It's what he's doing is unprecedented. It's never happened in baseball. Throw the stats out the window, the WAR and the sabermetrics and the underlying stats. When you're doing this on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't matter. The rest has no chance. It doesn't matter what they do. Judge gets 65 home runs and bat 300. Look at what Vlad did last year. He almost won a fucking triple crown, and it wasn't even close. Ohtani blew him out of the water, and he was having a worse season than he's having now. Ohtani's having a better season, and Vlad was having a borderline better year than what Judge had, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah, I mean, we said this last year. I remember one episode we were like, if Ohtani just has a decent year on both sides, he's going to be a top 1-2 MVP candidate for as long as he keeps it up.
And I understand that, but when I'm reading these stats right now, and I know everybody knows them, but I'm going to read them again. I mean, he has 5.1 WAR, like I mentioned. He has a 294 batting average, which is back up from where he was slowly slipping. He subtly has 9 stolen bases, which is kind of ridiculous that nobody's talking about that. He has a 1.025 OPS and a 187 OPS plus. He has 81 RBIs. It's July 25th.
No, it's ridiculous, dude.
And I didn't even mention 37 home runs. So, which every time I look at this, I just smile.
I truthfully think that,
and he's playing Gold Glove defense.
Exactly. If both players continue to keep this up,
it's gonna make for a very, very difficult.
It's gonna make for a very difficult conversation. But I hate to say it, and I know that people don't really read into this, but I feel like the success of the Yankees and the downfall of the Angels this year really has to play into it.
It has to.
It has to this year. The Angels are.
Look at Mike Trout. I just don't believe.
I know, but I'm saying for something this close, it has to. I mean, the Angels are so bad, and they had so much potential, and they're fucking sucking. And
now they're talking about trading Ohtani.
Yeah, they're talking about trading him, and now you look at Judge, and he is carrying this Yankee team, whether or not he's
the best player
offensively. He's the best player on the best team, and there's no denying that. And the Yankees are they had a historical first half, and Judge was the front of that team, leading the team into that historical first half. And there's no question about that.
I mean,
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it.
Look at his stats. I know your argument. We know your argument. I'm just now going back to Ohtani's stats now too. Everybody talks about Ohtani's he's like sneaks in those stolen bases. Judge has the same amount of stolen bases. Ohtani has 10, Judge has 9. Ohtani's batting 256 with an 832 OPS. Judge has a 1.025 OPS. I mean, it's just the hitting is not even close. I get he does both, but like at a certain point, and especially if he's if he has 62 home runs, that's the most home runs ever hit by a Yankee, and you can make the argument that it's most home runs ever hit by a person who didn't take PEDs, because obviously Barry Bonds has more, but he had needles sticking out of his ass. So
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Very much allegedly. Innocent until proven guilty. But it's just that's crazy. And you talk about nobody's ever done it before. Nobody's ever done the pitching and hitting before. Nobody's ever done 62 home runs when they didn't have needles in their ass. So
When do you have, like, why do you have faith in the baseball writers to get it right? If this is truly what's right,
I have
and,
no
you know,
faith.
I'm saying we all think it's right and all things even, and they stay this way through the whole back half of the season. What gives you any sort of confidence that the baseball writers will get it right? Look at the Judge and Altuve thing. That is just prime example, clear cut as it will ever get. Judge had him beaten every single category ever. WAR, everything other than batting average, and he didn't win the MVP. He did. You can look at it. I don't think it was particularly close. I think Altuve won pretty handedly. I just don't have the faith that they'll get it right, and maybe that's an issue that they need to fix. Although it definitely is an issue that they need to fix, but as long as Shohei Ohtani is in Major League Baseball and putting up numbers anywhere close to this, barring a triple crown, barring a 70 home run season, I don't know that anybody can beat him. They're so dick hard for Shohei Ohtani, and that's fair. He is incredible. He is a unicorn. This doesn't exist in baseball, but there are seasons sometimes. I mean, I thought Vlad Jr. had a legitimate chance.
You're right. And
like
I think,
last year, I thought
think
his season was just as good.
Yes, and I think the WAR is you brushed it off as if it didn't matter. The WAR tells you that it does, because the WAR from one side of the plate, he's not pitching. That I think, and that's why when I take it all the way back to my initial question, what's more impressive, the DJ or the Judge thing? I think the Judge thing, because a lot of people wrote him off as what we're all talking about, and the writers are all going to write him off. And whether that's the case, that's neither here or there. I will make the case that Judge is having the better year 100%, because he's doing it from one side. It's that, and that's, I think the WAR is the indicator. It's the WAR is like the straw that'll break the camel's back. It's like what tells you that he's doing enough on one side to trump what he's doing for both sides. It's WAR, and he has more WAR than Ohtani does from both sides of the plate. He's being like he's not hitting at a MVP level, not even close. And I looked at his MVP year, what he was hitting, same batting average, was 257 last year, but he had a 158 OPS plus, and he had 965 OPS. That's MVP caliber. Right now he's at 832 OPS. Like he's not doing it from the offensive side. I haven't looked at his pitching, but I mean, the WAR is the biggest thing for me.
He's dominating pitching. He's going to end up with Cy Young votes, and that's the whole thing. Is he's going to be not historic, but he's going to be so good on both. He's above average on both. And that's the bottom line, is how do you compete with a guy that has the entire baseball world watching? He's arguably the face of baseball. And I would actually argue that Aaron Judge is up there. And we had that debate before the season when Ohtani was the show cover, but that's neither here nor there. Ohtani draws so much buzz to the game. He's doing things that have never been done before. I think we're going to be shocked at the end of the year how lopsided it is if all things stay the same.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think that they're going to respect him until something changes, or anybody for that matter. I don't think that if I fucking pick a name next year comes out and hits 350 with 40 home runs and Ohtani does the same thing, I still think Ohtani wins.
All right.
I do. I think that this year more than any other year. I mean, it's only been 1 year, but this year should have some emphasis on the team, because the Yankees are crushing the division right now, and the Angels were leading the division, and now they are 23.5 games back.
And maybe I know they never really take that into consideration.
That's ridiculous.
And it's something that maybe should be taken into consideration. We've talked about in the past, but things change, narratives change because of certain things, and I think maybe this could be the year that it's so lopsided on both ends. Like, it'd be different if the Angels weren't one of the worst teams in baseball and they have two of the best players in the world on the team. It'd be different if they were like a middle of the pack team that's like fighting for a playoff spot. They're not, and it's just like, and then Judge is on the best team potentially. Like they're still on like chomping at the bit to get the best record in Yankees history or baseball history. So when you have two opposite ends of the spectrum, and now they're even talking about trading Ohtani and taking real offers on that, it's like that might be the thing that decides in the future for voters for the MVP, that maybe you should take another look at the guy who's on the better team, because I mean, most valuable player is an individual accolade, but it's also, if you're that valuable, you're going to bring your team up along with you. And it's not, one player can't really bring your team up to the level that the Yankees are at right now, but Judge is certainly an integral part of that. And if he didn't exist, the Yankees wouldn't be doing this. So when you're talking about most valuable player, that's what Judge is, and that's what that means. So I think maybe potentially this year could lay a little bit more fuel to that fire of like, maybe you should give that another look.
For the record, I totally agree. I don't think the Yankees are where they are. I mean, and no shit, they're not where they are without Judge, but I don't think
that defines MVP.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
You're
called.
not arguing with me. I'm not arguing against you. I'm arguing against the baseball writers.
The award isn't called the best player award. It's called the most valuable player. It's like valuable to the team.
Which,
like,
to play devil's advocate, though, most valuable is a guy who pitches and hits. Like, I mean,
yeah, but the team sucks, and he's not valuable to anybody.
I don't know. I can see both sides, but I'm saying maybe this gives an extra look at the guy in the best team as well.
I legit think the Yankees have 5-6 less wins without Judge right now, at least.
At exactly 5.1 based on WAR.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's a stat for that.
I wasn't looking at the WAR. I was just thinking of like moments that he's had, and those like there's 5 or 6 that stick out.
I know what you mean. I mean, he's had a walk off all the time. So
dude, doing some mental back. I think it's about 5.5 wins.
Yeah, it feels like 5.1.
All right, rounding out the smoker fire, Andrew Benintendi. Yankees are apparently serious contenders per Mark Feinstein. Smoker fire.
Fire. Excuse me.
Yeah, I agree with fire. I think it's a good fit.
I mean, we know it's a good fit. We talked about it before, but just what would you say the percentage chance the Yankees land Benintendi are?
60.
Yeah, I would say somewhere in the 60s, 70s.
I'll say this too. I think the Soto rumor mill and the trade situation makes it more likely that we get Benintendi, because I think a lot of people are going to be, all the other outfield suitors, outfield traders are going to be focused on going after Juan Soto along with us. But I think the people that miss out on Soto, which I do think is going to be us, will now be in like, all right, well, we just missed out on the biggest fish in the history of baseball. Let's go ahead. And also, I think that drives the price of Benintendi down, because he's no longer the tied for the top guy with him and Ian Happ or whatever you want to call it. He's not one of the best guys in the market anymore. He's not even close. Like, so now, and that is a real thing, because when you look at guys that are going to be involved in that Soto deal, Patrick Corbin was the best pitcher on the market, and he got paid handsomely because of it. So being the best on the market matters a lot. So having Juan Soto over Andrew Benintendi can't even sniff Juan Soto's jockstrap. So like it's going to drive his price down a ton. And I really think that I would put the percentage chance that we get Benintendi at like 75, honestly.
I think
Benintendi really or Happ,
if you put Benintendi or Happ in that conversation, I would put that in the 80s. They have to get an outfielder. I think, at least. And I think you're going to see a lot after Juan Soto moves, or as a market really forms and you get serious contenders for Soto. Right now, the last I saw, there's 5 or 6 teams that were all in contention. You know, Damon was talking about that poll, and you have so many. It's such a wide open field. I think as that market kind of takes shape, you'll start seeing some of the other dominoes fall, because right now, if you're the Yankees, why do you trade for Benintendi, or why do you trade for Castillo? I know it's a need, but if you have a chance at landing Juan Soto, you don't want to trade one of those guys for Castillo and then be like, okay, we pull out because we wanted player X, and you send him to the Reds. That's as that market takes shape, and maybe that's an obvious statement to make, but it's something that needs to be said, is that as that market takes place, we'll start to see more dominoes fall. I don't expect anything imminent. I don't know.
I do think the idea that I just thought about, like the fact that Juan Soto being available and whether or not Ohtani being available, I'll just say smoke or fire on that. I think that's smoke, but that's just for the sole reason of it would be absolutely ridiculous. It would be wild if both get traded, but Ohtani specifically because it's just wild.
One thing to note, I think going forward too for this trade season, a lot of people, and we can just brush on it quickly, a lot of people don't think the Yankees can afford Soto and Judge or Soto and or whatever. The point is there's big names on the market. Extensions are going to need to happen. Judge is still there. The thing with the CBT that was negotiated in the offseason in the CBA, which have fun with those acronyms, whatever, is that CBT threshold is going to go up every year and it's increasing throughout the lifetime of this. So while you're looking at luxury tax space, and particularly the Yankees, because that's who we talk about, they're shedding like $90 million this year. You factor in a Judge extension if you want, don't if you don't. But the CBT is also going to be going up over the next 2 or 3 years, 20 or 30 million in time span. So when you're doing your math at home and doing your mock trades, keep that in mind while you're on that website where you can trade Domingo Germán for Juan Soto straight up.
Speaking of Domingo Germán too, I agree. But speaking of Domingo Germán, just a slight preview at the Mets series coming up. I'm upset that it's Domingo Germán versus Max Scherzer.
It's like Heaney in the Field of Dreams game.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, this is one of the most exciting matchups, especially the Yankees and Mets. First time they're seeing each other this year. Two of the best teams in baseball. The literal two best teams in baseball, just by standings, aren't they? Are the Mets number 2 now?
I think
or still?
I think the Astros might be.
Regardless, one of the two best teams in baseball, and you're throwing out. I mean, the first game is Monty versus Taijuan Walker. That's a pretty good matchup. I'm not sure how Walker's doing this year, but I feel like he's relatively similar to Monty. But Germán versus Scherzer is just that's bad.
Yeah, it's not going to go well. I'll tell you that much. If the Yankees were favored at all,
I would not.
I will not be betting on that. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, Judge is gonna need to. Well, Judge does kind of have Scherzer's number. He hit that home run off him in the All-Star game. So
we'll have one run, and
well, no, he's good for 2.
The Mets will have 15.
Yeah. Well, no, he'll be taken out after 5.
Sears? How can you not give Sears that start? I don't get it. Maybe they're just saving it for Luis Castillo.
Yeah,
they're just playing one big troll game.
That's
because
true.
Castillo's also slated to start on Wednesday.
They're gonna pull the rug out from under him. Yeah.
And we had Sweeney and Dominguez pulled yesterday. They say heat exhaustion, whatever. We've all been hot. It's hot in my apartment right now. I'm not getting pulled from the podcast. Yeah.
So what you're saying is buy the tickets on TickPick now for the second game in the Subway Series because they'll go up even more when Luis Castillo is scheduled to start against Max Scherzer in Citi Field.
That's what I would say.
Okay, code 161 to get $10 off.
Yep.
Okay. That is it for me. Actually, the last thing before we get out of here is smoke or fire on the IKF 13-game hitting streak. Chandler, I'll let you start because you are the resident IKF hater. So
wait, really? Chandler doesn't look IKF.
If IKF was right in front of him, Chandler was like a 13-year-old kid, and he was like, normally you'd ask for an autograph from anybody. Chandler would actually spit in his face.
I would not. I don't hate the guy. I don't get why people.
I would like to see what it looks like for you to hate a guy then, because this is as close as it gets to hate.
I'll pull the text receipts again.
It's smoke, and if you don't think it's smoke, then you're just not watching the games, or you're just again overly excited and just giving the guy too long of a leash. I mean, look at the peripherals. He's still. Put it this way, he's on a 12-game hitting streak, and he's got a lower WRC plus than Joey Gallo, who's got 4 hits in the same time span. 4 total hits. So, I mean, that's not a sustainable way to put up stats in the major leagues. Has he been serviceable for what we need him for? A stopgap shortstop? Fine. Yeah, I'll give you that. He's fine, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you his 12-game hit streak is something noteworthy. A slap single.
I said 13, so it was 12. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, a slap single with a 30 mile per hour exit velo that just finds a hole. He's got 12 lucky games, and good for him. Maybe he'll hit for a high average this year, which if you want to count 270 for a high average, go for it. But like, he's not.
No, that has to be one of the worst hitting streaks I've ever seen in my life.
So he has 0 multi-hit games in that time span, and an
88 WRC plus. Oh my god, that's bad.
It's basically like bunting practice. He's fast and he's putting the ball on the ground.
Yeah,
and
it's not bad, but it's bad when you think about his 12-game hitting streak.
It's not. I'm not saying he's the worst player ever.
I know.
And I've said he does serve a purpose. He puts the ball in play, which not many people on this team
I love IKF. I like
do.
what he does.
Look at our runners and scoring position numbers over the last fucking year, especially lately. They've been dog shit. I think we're 16-15 or maybe 17-15 now after the win yesterday, but over our last 31-32. But during that time span, we can't hit fucking water if we fell out of a boat with a goddamn runner in scoring position, and he does. It at least puts it in play. So, hats off to him there. That's something that we don't have. He serves a purpose. Is he good? No. Is he something that can he's a breath of fresh air at times. Like, I have a little bit of faith of him to put it in. I don't like him, but he's not. I would rather have Peraza. I would rather have Cabrera. But if he's our top shortstop,
I'll say it again. I like the wrinkle he brings to this team. He puts the ball in play, and we don't really have people that do that. So he serves a purpose.
I think one thing to note on that while we're talking about it, the runners in scoring position numbers are bad, and that's a problem. That's going to be a very big storyline to watch.
He's going to be our shortstop in the playoffs. You know it. I know it.
Unless Xander Bogaerts gets traded.
Also wild. Smoke or fire on that. That's smoke.
Wouldn't surprise me.
What? I here's one thing I did want to mention about that too. Xander Bogaerts, that would be awesome because he's routinely one of the most underrated players in baseball. Very much the most underrated shortstop. He almost didn't make the All-Star team this year because of fucking people who are brain dead and just don't appreciate him. And two, out of all of the people that went from the Yankees to the Red Sox, and we talk about people that can never be a Yankee, or they say I never want him to be on the Red Sox. I could give a shit less about Xander Bogaerts being a Red Sox. I feel like the general taste in their mouth for all Yankee fans is just a mutual respect for Xander Bogaerts. And same with Devers. I feel like those two, if you gave me either one of them, I wouldn't I wouldn't give any less of a shit.
Yeah. Agreed.
Is that stigma even around anymore? Is there any? Because the Yankees and Red Sox rivalry hasn't been as animated as it has been in the past, where you hate the other person's guts. I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't really matter to me anymore. We're talking about getting Benintendi. If that were the case, I know he traveled through a different team in between, but I feel like back in the day when the teams used to hate each other, we wouldn't even that'd be like the Johnny Damon coming to the Yankees move.
Yeah.
The only guy on the Red Sox that I really and truly hate, and if he came to the Yankees, be like, fuck that guy, is Alex Verdugo.
Yeah, that's
what?
True.
Really?
He's like a true sloppy Red Sox motherfucker that I can't stand. Xander Bogaerts, I like Xander Bogaerts. I respect Xander Bogaerts as a player, as a person. I think he's awesome. And you know what? I'm sure Verdugo's a fine guy. I can't fucking stand him. I can't. I'm sorry. He routinely kills the Yankees. He fucks with the fans, which good on him. I would do the same if I was put in the same situation. But that's the whole thing. He wants you to hate him, and he does a good job at it. So, you know what? Hats off to him. He's a good player, and he's perfect for the rivalry. But he's like a...
We need more of him to spark the rivalry.
Exactly.
We need a fight.
Look at the historic.
We need him to fight
each other.
Who do we want him to fight on the Yankees?
I feel like Donaldson's the best fighter. Not like
what?
no. Let me rephrase that.
Oh, you're right.
Let me rephrase that. Not like squaring up like he's gonna be the most skilled fighter. He's the best person to he's the best person to pick a fight with.
Okay, so what we do is we have Donaldson pick the fight. And then we immediately have a guy run out like D-Rob used to run out of the dugout to go and get into a brawl. But who's the guy you want to actually fight Verdugo.
You obviously can't
Obviously,
pick Judge or
you
Stanton,
can't pick
right?
Judge or Stanton. Yeah,
Yeah.
make it an even match.
Jose Trevino.
Trevino's kind of jacked.
We
Just
can't. We
pure-
can't risk it.
Just pure
Yeah.
passion. Like that dude would.
The way I want to phrase this too is what Damon just said. You can't risk it because it's similar to that of a hockey fight. Like you don't want to waste this guy.
Throw Gallo in
risk
there.
him getting injured or risk him in the hockey sense of going to the penalty box. Like,
Well, in that case, we can't put anybody in there. Where
Gallo.
because I guess they would say that same about Verdugo. So
Exactly.
scratch that. Who would you want to
no
win the fight?
touching of the hair or face, of course.
And that's it.
course.
I think I gotta go Trevino. Maybe Rizzo.
He's too nice.
Rizzo, I feel
I
like
can't
Rizzo
see
would
Rizzo
stab
fighting
somebody.
anybody. Yeah, I know. I
He's
can
way
see
too
him
nice.
being successful in a fight. I just can't see him doing it because he's
For
too
his
nice of a guy.
teammate. I don't think he would ever fight somebody that didn't deserve it. If they
I feel
deserved
like-
it, I think he would just turn into an.
And I feel like
absolute
if he hit
fucking
anybody,
lunatic.
if he hit anybody too, they would probably just like eat the punch and be like, "Yep, I get it." they
feel
wouldn't
like,
they wouldn't fight back. They would just let him hit him in the face.
I feel like Higgy would die for the Yankees. Like he would go out there.
Yeah,
and-
what other
and he-
organization would keep him for 13 years?
Like he would
He'd
fight
try it
the
to the
entire
heart.
Red Sox team with his bare
Oh my
hands.
God.
I want
A
to
little
see.
bit of elbow
I
grease.
want to see Stanton versus Lindor Part 2 this year.
I mean, yeah, it's not
That
gonna
was
happen.
awesome. That was so fun. That Subway Series last year, especially with this team when we were all down in the dumps. Like, these guys fucking blow. And you got Cole running out of the dugout with a bum hamstring ready to fucking stab somebody in the jugular. You got Stanton chirping people. That was fun. I want to see that again. If we see that level of intensity again with this team, I know they have a little bit of fight.
I'm
Or
pumped
as
for it.
the Internet's saying they have that dog in them.
That dog.
Let's get the X-ray of the dog in the rib
Yeah.
cage. Let's see. We'll find out who has the dog in him soon. You're getting me really pumped up for this Subway Series.
gonna be
Not
good.
that I really needed to be already. Like it's exciting. They're both. This is the most exciting it's been. And honestly, it's fun because like 2 years ago or something like that, before they got Starling Marte, who I think is the exact reason why they're good. I haven't made that. I haven't hid my feelings about Starling Marte, and it's gonna suck when he hits a walk off against us because he's the best player in baseball, and I wish he was a Yankee. But this is the first time in a while that I've been this excited for a Subway Series, and I feel like I was about to say 2 years ago, I feel like at that point it's fizzled out, and no, we really haven't cared about the Subway Series. It's been more so like the Yankees, Red Sox, obviously, and all that stuff. But I feel like our crosstown rivals, we haven't really given a shit about. They've always been the little brother, but I have a real respect for them this year that they're legit. They haven't even got DeGrom back yet, and they're going to be something this year. There's a legitimate shot that we could have a Subway Series World Series this year.
I think the Braves
lot of
passed
things.
them, worth noting, which
What?
is kind of funny. I think the Braves passed them, which is kind of funny and worth noting.
Yeah, but my main point about this is I have respect for them, which makes this more exciting, and I don't think they're going to mess it up like they always do this year. I think that they're legit, and that makes me excited to go watch them, and you're making me want to rub my pennies together and go pay the slightly discounted tickets if you use code 161 on TickPick to go watch the game. So, and Citi Field is hot take alert. I don't know if this is a hot take, but Citi Field is nicer than Yankee Stadium.
That's a fact.
So, hope to see you guys there, and thank you guys for tuning in.